Hey everyone, this is your host Aditya, and we're back with another tutorial in the vRealize Automation tutorial series. This video will cover the role-based user administration or RBAC, as well as the different responsibilities associated with these roles. Without further ado, the first concept is that of a fabric. As you're familiar with the concept of endpoints now, you can think of the fabric as all the compute resources that are collected by the endpoints. Another way to think about them is the total aggregation of the compute resources that were discovered from all endpoints. Okay, now that may not be another way to think about it, but it is something. Now, this fabric is divided into the fabric groups for ease of manageability. So fabric groups will basically be a smaller set of compute resources that are cut from the same fabric. An IS administrator can organize virtualization compute resources and cloud endpoints into fabric groups by type and by intent. The IS admin will be the one that will assign a fabric administrator to a fabric group. One or more fabric administrators manage the resources in each fabric group. It is a common practice to associate the fabric groups with service levels such as gold, silver, and bronze. Even though the fabric groups are created in a specific tenant, their resources can be made available to users who belong to business groups in different tenants. Now, the fabric administrators are responsible for creating reservations on the compute resources in their fabric groups. Now, these reservations, which are further segregation of fabric groups, are attached to business groups, which in turn can provision on them. This is the whole process of how the fabric, or should I say the resources that we have, is logically segregated into smaller pieces and is allotted to tenants for provisioning. The total resources that a tenant has or that a tenant has been allowed to provision on will simply be the aggregation of all the resources that its business groups have been allocated. So while we are discussing fabric groups, I think it would be a great idea if I just showed you guys how to create a fabric group. Now, in this tutorial, there are multiple concepts that we are going to discuss as mentioned earlier. So I think I will just configure everything and show it to you how it's done rather than just explaining the concept. So let's start with the first one. We are already inside the VRA portal and let's try to create a fabric group. First off, what you are going to need is an IS administrator, right? If you remember from our roles and responsibilities video. Now, just go to the infrastructure tab and after that, go to endpoints. These tabs should be visible if you have the IS admin, right? Go to the fabric groups and let us try creating a new fabric group. Okay, click on the new button. As you can see, we already have other fabric groups created. Let's try creating a new fabric group. Let us call it fg-tutorial. Provide it a description. Assign a fabric administrator to the fabric group. Now, I guess who should be made a fabric administrator? I must be a good guy. So I'm going to assign myself as the fabric administrator. Now you need to select the compute resources that you're going to utilize in this fabric group. It can be Dell Compute, and I'm just going to select Dell Compute and Dell Management. Now this thing depends upon your own environment in which you're working for. Click on OK and let's wait for it. And we have a new fabric group by the name of FG Tutorial, and the fabric administrator is Aditya_AN. That's me, in case you didn't know. Now that we are done with fabric groups, this is exactly how you create a fabric group. Let us move on to machine prefixes. Now, these, in addition to managing compute resources in a fabric group by configuring reservations and reservation policies, the Fabric administrators also manage across tenant configurations such as machine prefixes. So let's talk about the machine prefixes. Now, these machine prefixes, they're used to generate names for the provision machines. So in case you are like provisioning a machine, it's going to require a name, and this name is decided on the basis of the machine prefix that is being used in case of provisioning. Whenever a virtual machine will be provisioned, it will automatically get its name based on the machine prefix that is set to use for that virtual machine. Now we assign a default machine prefix to every business group that we expect to need IS resources. Every blueprint must have a machine prefix defined so that all the machines provisioned from that blueprint, or should I say catalog item, use the same machine prefix. If no machine prefix is defined at the blueprint level, the provision virtual machines will take the default machine prefix defined from the business group to which the requesting user belongs. Now, while configuring a machine prefix, you see three fields. If you're going to talk about it, it's better to just show you how to create a machine prefix. Go to the infrastructure tab. Okay. Go to the infrastructure tab. Go to the administrator tab inside it. Click on machine prefixes. Now here you see that we already have a number of machine prefixes created for our environment, but I'm going to build up a new one for you. Okay. Let us name this one INDL Now, this name will be attached to all the machines that are being provisioned. You can select the visibility for this machine prefix. It can either be shown to only this tenant or to all the tenants. You can assign the number of digits. I'm going to make it 3 and the next number from which it should start. Let's say it starts from 1. Save this one. You see that a new machine prefix has been created with INDELVRA, whose number of digits is 3 and the next number is 1. Now, if you were to provision a machine using this machine prefix, you will have the name INDELVRA 001 as the first machine that will be provisioned. This number basically decides the number from which the machine provisioning starts. And this decides the number of digits at the end of the name for the virtual machine which has been provisioned using this machine prefix. While creating a machine prefix, you need to keep in mind that vRealize automation does not support multiple virtual machines of the same name in a single instance. If a naming convention causes an overlap in machine names, vRealize automation does not provision the machine with the redundant name. vRealize automation skips the name that is already in use and generates a new name using the specified machine prefix. If a unique name is not found, the provisioning fails. A tenant administrator can change the default machine prefix for a business group at any point of time. The new default prefix will be used in the future for any virtual machine provisioning, but it's simply not going to affect already provisioned machines. I just really hope that this cleared up the concepts associated with machine prefixes. So let's move on to the next item on our list, and that is business groups. Now, what a business group allows us to do is that we can simply associate a set of services and resources to a set of users, which can be a part of department, company, or an organizational unit. So let's just try creating a business group first. Go to the administrator tab, go to the users and groups, click on business groups. Let's tear them a new one. Click on new. We're going to name this business group BG-tutorial for the sake of simplicity. Provide a description so that users know what they're being made a part of. Just call the description as BG for tutorial purpose. Now you can set the capacity email alerts to someone. I'm just gonna name it myself. You can set the Active Directory policy if there exists any in your environment. You can set the custom properties here that you want to be implemented on this business group. Click on next. Oh, it seems like I did not enter the name correctly, enter the email ID correctly. Now that we are done, we are going to assign the different members. Now, if you remember from our roles and responsibilities video, the group manager role is your simply the BG manager. We have the support role, we have the shared access role, and we have the user role. Now, these roles are basically the business group roles. So for now, I'm just going to enter the members into these one, and obviously it's going to be me and all of them. We do not need the support role and the shared access role as of now. So I'm just going to add myself to a group manager role and the user role. Okay, there we are. We're done with that. Click on next. Now, as you can see, we created a default machine prefix. There it is in Del VRA. I'm going to select it for this business group. If a blueprint does not have a different machine prefix specified, then this is the machine prefix that the provision machine is going to use. You can also define an Active Directory container. So now that we are done with creating a business group, I'm just going to finish it. There. We have our business group created, that is BG-tutorial. Now, these business groups can have access to catalog items that are specific to that group and to catalog items that are shared between different business groups in the same tenant. Each business group will have one or many reservations attached to it, which defines at which compute resource the business users belonging to that business group can provision virtual machines on. So basically, each business group is going to have some reservations, and this will specify that the users that belong to that business group on which resources they can provision on. So all business groups basically must have at least one business group manager, which will monitor the resources uses for its own business group, which we already did. We created a business group manager. A user can be a member of more than one business group and is completely normal for a user to have different roles in different business group that it is a part of. The tenant administrator, which creates the business group, configures the reservations for it and also entitles that business group's users to request catalog items. While assigning a business group role, you can either add individual users one by one, or you can add a group created at the identity store, or you can add a custom group of users created at the VRA level. We are going to discuss custom groups at some time later in our tutorial series. For now, just know that you can either add group members one by one, or as a group, as an AD group that you have sent from your Active Directory, or as a custom group that you created inside vRealize automation. Since we are done with business group, I think it's time to discuss reservations. Just go to the infrastructure tab, click on reservations, and let us start creating a reservation. Or maybe we should discuss what a reservation is first. Now, when you create a vRealize automation reservation to allocate provisioning resources in the fabric group to a specific business group. So let's just do that. We're going to create a reservation, click on a new reservation, click on the type of reservation that you want to create. There are multiple options available, as you can see. We're going to create a vSphere vCenter reservation. Click on that. It's being populated. It's going to need a name. Just give it res-tutorial. The tenant, you can select the tenant for which this reservation is being created for. For now, it's going to be dev-rise cloud. Select the business group for which this reservation is being created for. We're going to select BG-tutorial. You can also select the reservation policy, but since we do not have a reservation policy as of now, we are going to create it later in this tutorial, and we're going to assign it to this reservation later. Basically, you can have multiple reservations assigned to a reservation policy, but a reservation can only be part of a single reservation policy. Now, if you're just not going to assign anything there, then we're going to select the priority. If you're going to keep it to 1, I'm going to enable this reservation. Now let's move on to the resources. We're going to select the compute resources. in my scenario, it's going to be Dell-Compute vCenter. You can select the machine quota. So what basically machine quota specifies is the maximum number of powered on machines for this reservation. We're going to leave it unlimited. Now for the memory, we're going to select a memory reservation here. Let's select 40 GBs. Okay, other than that, now for storage reservation, let's see which has the most free storage. I think it's gonna be local storage. Create a 40 GB reservation here, and we're going to assign a priority. Clicking on OK. Now, as you can see, the resources that we have as of now reserved for us are 40 GB of memory and 40 GB of storage. Let's move on to network. We can assign the network that we want. Let's keep it to D port group -1001 as of now. These are the port groups that are available. You can select the transport zone and the security groups, but that is not what we are going to discuss here. That is completely off topic. And you can select the DLR. Again, we're going off topic. So as of now, just keep that in mind that we've selected a network from which the machines will be getting IPs. Basically, we are creating a network reservation from which our machines will get their network. I hope that cleared things up a bit. Let's go to properties. You can assign the properties here, any custom properties that you want to assign. You can also, we could have copied this from an existing reservation if you wanted, and you can set the alerts as well. So this finishes up all the details that are needed for creating a reservation. So let's just create it. Clicking on OK does that, and ta-da! As you can see, our reservation has been created. Now that we have created a reservation, we need to know what actually a reservation is doing here. When you create a vRealize automation reservation to allocate provisioning resources in the fabric group to a specific business group, you can use the reservations to specify that a share of the memory, CPU, network, and storage resources of a single compute resource belong to a particular business group. We already did that. You've already seen this thing that we are creating a storage, memory, network resource, and we are allocating it to a business group so that that business group can utilize this reservation. Now, these reservations, they can be of two types. We can have a virtual reservation which allocates a share of the resource such as memory, storage, or network for use by a business group. Or we can have a cloud reservation which provides access to the provisioning services of a cloud service provider for use by a business group. Now, if you delete a machine in vRealize automation using the destroy action, the storage and memory that are assigned to that machine from the reservation will be released. But in case you were going to delete the machine from the vCenter, they won't be released. What I'm trying to say here is, let's say we have this 40 GB of memory and 40 GB of storage that we reserved. If you provision a machine here with 20 GB of storage and 20 GB of RAM, then basically your 20 GBs will be consumed. If you delete the machine from vRealize automation, those 20 GB of storage and 20 GB of memory will be freed, and your reservation, as if you check your reservation, you will again see that 40 GB of storage and 40 GB of memory is available. But if you were to delete the virtual machine from vSphere, from vCenter, then they won't be released, and you will only see 20 GB of storage and 20 GB of memory left here. Now, you also need to understand that each reservation belongs to a single business group. Although each business group can have multiple reservations associated with it, that may or may not be different, that may or may not be of different types. So, the relation between a reservation and a business group is 1-to-1, but between a business group and reservation, it can be 1-to-many. If a business group has multiple reservations assigned to it, and they all meet the criterion for a provisioning request, the one with the highest priority will be used. Now, this is the reason why we set the priority while we were creating the reservation. If there exist multiple reservations on which a provisioning request can be made, then the reservation with the highest priority will be selected for provisioning. Please keep in mind that the reservations in vRealize automation are not the same as that in vSphere. Reservations in VRA just specify which fabric resources are available for provisioning, but they do not guarantee that sufficient resources are available for provisioning. Next up, we're going to discuss reservation policies. You can use the reservation policy to control how reservation requests are processed. When you provision machines from the blueprint, provisioning is restricted to the resources specified in your reservation policy. You may have attached multiple reservations to a reservation policy, which may have been specified inside the blueprint. When an item is requested for provisioning from that blueprint, the reservation policy is looked upon at, and the machine is provisioned on one of the reservations that is associated with the reservation policy in question and is best satisfying the requirement of the provisioning request. So basically, what you do is you attach multiple reservations to a reservation policy, you attach the reservation policy inside a blueprint, and whenever a request is being made from that blueprint, which has the reservation policy defined in it, then a reservation will be selected from the list of reservations that have been attached to the reservation policy according to the best possible scenario, and the machine will be provisioned on one of them reservations. You can add multiple reservations to a reservation policy, but a reservation can belong to only one policy. If multiple reservations are there that meet all the criteria for a provisioning request, the reservation from which to provision a requested machine is determined by the following logic. First up, the reservation with the highest priority will be chosen. Second up, if machine reservations all have the same priority, let's say you created multiple reservations with priority 1, then the reservation with the lowest percentage of its machine quota allocated will be selected. If the machine reservation has the same priority and the percentage of machine quota usage, the reservations are selected in the round robin fashion. So basically, I've shown you how to create a reservation. Now I'm going to show you how to create a reservation policy. Just click on new button here, define the reservation policy. I'm going to name it RESP tutorial. Now this is a reservation policy and not a store reservation policy. I'm going to provide a description here. And we're going to click OK. And this is going to save our reservation policy. There it is. Now that we have a reservation policy defined, I'm gonna make change to our reservation, which was previously present here, which we previously created. Which one was it? Yeah, it was reservation tutorial. I'm just gonna edit it, go to reservation policy and select RESP tutorial. Now our reservation has been attached to the reservation policy. So guys, I think we already did a lot of stuff today. We are on the final topic, that is network profiles. So just to tell you how to get there, click on the infrastructure tab, get to reservations and get to network profiles. That is how you're going to create a network profile. But before we create the network profile, we need to understand that the network profiles will contain IP information such as the gateway, the subnet, and the address range. Now, vRealize automation uses vSphere DHCP or a specified IPAM provider to assign IP addresses to the machines that it provisions. We create the network profiles to specify the previously mentioned information for a particular network. We then assign these network profiles to reservations, which are then associated with their corresponding business groups. This is the way it is determined that which business group will have access to what networks. So let's get on with creating a network profile, and I think that is how it's going to make your understanding a bit more clear. Sorry, I went a bit too fast there. Click on the network profiles, get to new. There are multiple type of network profiles that you can create. We are not going to discuss NAT and routed, but what we are concerned about here is an external type of network profile. We're just going to keep it to the basics right now. If we do get time, we will discuss it later in the later tutorials about NAT and router profiles. You're not going to need them right now. So just click on external. Okay, let's provide it a name. NP hyphen, provide a description. You can select an IPAM endpoint. It could be the internal vRealize automation IPAM or any other third-party IPAM tool that you have. As you can see, we have some other ones present, but we're not going to use that. Provide a gateway. Just going to take a random one here. Let's get to the DNS entries for this network profile. We can specify the primary DNS, the secondary DNS, the DNS suffix, the DNS search suffixes. You can specify the preferred VINs and alternate VINs name. Let's go to network range. You can specify a network range here. So I'm just going to call it range 1. Before you create these network profile changes, make sure that you are already well informed about the network that exists in your infrastructure. So if you're going to create a range here which does not exist in the network that you are giving to your virtual machines, it's never going to work. So you need to have the basic infrastructure knowledge before you start creating a network profile. Create a description. You're going to need a start IP. And an end IP. 2.168.5.40. Okay. So now that we have a range defined for our network profiles, here we can see all the IP addresses that have been allocated to different virtual machines that have been provisioned using this network profile. As you can see, we have nothing here because this is a new network profile that we are creating. So click on apply. Oh, okay. I think I made a mistake here. The gateway sorry, this was completely a mistake on my part. We're going to create a network range, then it should be in the same network as the gateway. Let's start it from 5. And the end IP. Yep. So there is our network range. I think it should work for now. Let's click on apply and click on OK. So here we have a network profile created. What was the name again? Yeah, there it is. NP-tutorial. Now that we have a network profile created, we need to go to the reservation and assign this network profile to the reservation that we created. It was a reservation tutorial. And the network tab, we defined the network that we are going to use. And we select the network profile. That was NP-tutorial. That is done there now. So we discussed a lot of concepts. Now our network profile has been attached to the reservation, and whenever a virtual machine is being provisioned on that reservation and is using that particular port group, the data will be automatically supplied by the network profile as to which IP range this machine is going to get an IP from, the DNS and the DNS gateway, and everything will be supplied to the virtual machine from this network profile. So we discussed network profile, we discussed reservations, we discussed reservation policies, business group, machine prefixes, fabric groups, fabrics. That was a lot of stuff. We discussed a lot of stuff. Sorry if I was a bit fast paced, but can't help it. Sorry about that. I think I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, bye bye.